All right, Orel, so you've come back for a lot of different things where you've been celebrated for opening days, ceremonial first pitches. How is this different as far as your feelings and just the way the team is celebrating you at another level?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if your title is Mr. Hershiser or Bulldog, and now they're going to put legend in front of it sometimes. It feels like tomorrow's just going to be another day where you just seek to be your best. But it's nice to be recognized for all the times you tried to be your best in the past. And I woke up this morning to like a zillion texts of congratulations and some paragraphs and a FaceTime video call from Walker Buehler. So there's been a lot of special messages from people that make this day a lot more special than just the ceremony. I mean, it's really about all the relationships and the past and what was created and what is continuing today.
Orel,
Pretty
what's it like to be a part of this Dodger family?
That's what my speech is going to mainly be about, because in 3 to 5 minutes you can't capsulize and name everybody and read a phone book. So you have to figure out a way to say, how did this happen? And why did it happen? And it happened because I was drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Because then you think, after that nucleus of you're drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers, all the people that then get a piece of you and can influence you, and you can try hard for, and you can be inspired by. And we could go down the list of names, but it'd be impossible. So when I speak to the fans, and I thank them, and I thank the organization, I really have to go at like my Mount Rushmore of pitching people, my Mount Rushmore of inspirational people. And then everybody else is going to have to say, I understand where I would be in that chain, but I'm not even introduced to the other people without those Mount Rushmore people.
When people say your name, they automatically think back to that extraordinary season of 1988, but do you feel like people don't look at the full body of work, and you're so much more than just 1988? How does that feel?
I am never going to second guess what people think about me, because you're looking at a suspect, not a prospect. You're looking at a guy that was cut from his high school team, the varsity side, until the junior year. You're looking at a guy that was academically ineligible his freshman year at Bowling Green, and that's not a real hard school to pass academically, right? Whatever I attained and sometimes earned, I feel like there's no second guessing on, and if people pin it down to one moment, because that was a special moment for a lot of people, not just for our team and for me. It was a special moment for the whole city, and you don't expect a whole city to remember every facet of your career. I am fortunate enough that they have one shining time that they go, wow, we remember you for that. So I don't think that immediately, like, what about 85? I was 19-3, what about this? What about this other thing? No, I don't think that at all. I think to actually be recognized and remembered is pretty doggone special. It's a hard one, but by millions of people.
How's your connection with the fans now, like as an announcer, compared to as a player? Like, it's different generations, obviously.
Yeah, it's a lot of dads and moms and grandpas saying, this is who this is, and introducing me. It's a lot of kids that are diehard baseball fans that know me because I appear on video games, and I guess I'm a monster on one of the games where it's really hard to get hits and runs off of me. I guess I was a special player one month. If you threw a no-hitter, you got to be Orel Hershiser of '88, and that kind of made me famous with the younger generations that play the video games. But most of the interactions are, the nickname comes up, where they were, what they felt, how a relationship got built with the Dodgers because of 88 or because of 59 scoreless or because of, watching Gibby's home run. So that's the interaction. It's memorable stuff. And it's me thanking them for remembering.
Are you hoping they play Master of the House similar to your start days?
Dieter already told me that they are allowing him to play Master of the House before the ceremony begins. So I don't think it was in the rundown, but Dieter asked, and yeah, I think he's going to play it as kind of things are setting up.
How did that evolve?
It evolved because I think it got out that I loved going to Broadway shows, and I used to take young players when we go to New York and have a Saturday day game, and then we'd have Saturday night off. I used to take them to Broadway, but I'd say I'm taking you to dinner, but I'd throw in the Broadway play because they'd never come, or musical. They'd never come if I said, and we're going to a musical. So I'd say, hey, meet you in the lobby. We meet 4 or 5 guys. We get in the cab. We go to dinner early, and then or we go to the show first. And most of the times I defaulted to, Les Mis and Phantom. They were the two, like, okay, if they don't like these, they're never going to get the bug. And so my son Quentin was big in the arts and loved it. So yeah, it was always something. I went to Broadway almost every time in New York if I had an off night. It was kind of fun to, bring in the noise, bring in the funk, and we did all kinds of different shows. But we continue to do that.
Did any of them try to walk out?
Walk out of the show?
Yeah.
They better not. I had the aisle seat. No. We used to take my son, but we'd make him dress up and in like a suit and tie and shoes. And by the end of the show, the shoes were off, the tie was off. He was laying there almost falling asleep, but enjoying it, and just mesmerized. But yeah, he couldn't keep the clothes on.
How much has these last 10 years kind of, reinvigorated you? And I'm wondering when during your career have you ever thought about being a broadcaster, at what point?
As a player, I tried to study and interview almost everybody that would have allowed me to continue on in baseball. So I talked to Fred Clare about general managing. I said, tell me about your lifestyle. And the moment he told me that the only time he was semi-off and got to go to Hawaii for to play some golf with Cheryl was between Christmas and New Year's. They had a week vacation, but even then he was answering the phone. And I'm like, okay, that lifestyle might not work for me. But I got on that track. The reason I became a Cleveland Indian was because I wanted to experience American League ball, so I'd be a better, well-rounded baseball person after playing. The reason we played in New York was because I wanted fans to hold me accountable as I got older. I just didn't want to be the veteran on the staff that all of a sudden was there to teach, whatever city you picked that was up and coming and had young pitchers. I wanted to go someplace where there was intensity and the fans would hold me accountable. So Cleveland was an education. New York was the intensity, and I beat the Mets, and I wanted to be there so the fans would hold me accountable. And of course, the Giants was the same reason. And I also wanted my family and my kids to experience great cities because I'm lugging them around the world to play baseball still, and I wanted them to get an education and to be in a great place. Broadcasting was always on the horizon as a possibility, but it was always 4 or 5 things. I mean, Peter O'Malley said, don't stop at general manager, try and figure out if you can end up trying to run a club. I didn't think I was that smart, but it was nice of him to say. Different scouts, I would talk to them about, tell me about scouting, tell me about education, what do I need to do? And so, I talked to Vinny, Jerry Royce and I in spring training as active players used to go on the roof of the press box at Dodgertown and fake broadcast games into recorders to kind of practice. We did all kinds of stuff like that. I used to go in the truck and watch our games being broadcast in spring training. Plus it was a really nice, cool place because of the air conditioning in the truck. So I never knew what I was going to do, but I ended up picking broadcasting because of the lifestyle, I think. I got to be around my love and still have a life. And it's really hard to get fired in broadcasting every 3 to 5 years unless you swear on the air. So if you do a good job And you're not going to get moved around like a coach, a manager, or a general manager that is really counting on doing great work and winning and keeping a job for maybe 3 years, maybe 7, maybe 10, but not for a long time. And when I retired, John Hart, who I played for in Cleveland, became the general manager of the Texas Rangers, and he asked me to come work for him and be the pitching coach in Texas. And I said, John, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but I would love to work for you or do something and get a baseball education. He goes, well, what do you want to do? I go, I want to do everything. And he goes, well, why don't you come and be associate general manager? You can be in every meeting you want to be. You can hang out in the cage with the hitting guys. You can hang out with the pitching guys. You can hang out in the front office. You can be in meetings on naming rights. You can be in meetings on uniform colors and marketing. You can be in free agent signing meetings with all the scouts. I go, that's exactly what I want to do. And then into the beginning of that season, they decided they wanted to fire the pitching coach. And I said, okay. And they said, but we want you to be the pitching coach. And I said, no, that's not okay. and they said, well, what would allow us to maybe have you be the pitching coach? And I said, okay, I got a deal. This story has never been published. I said, if you let me come into the front office at 8 in the morning and work till 2 in the afternoon and be around all those meetings that I was allowed in, and then put a uniform on at 2 o'clock and be the pitching coach, I'll do it. Because I want to continue my baseball education. And then I'll go do what people think I'm already good at. And so they did that. So for the years that ended through that year, and then when Buck Showalter interviewed me to be the pitching coach when Buck took over from Jerry Nairn, I said I need the same deal. And I got to do that for those 3.5 years in Cleveland and really learn about what goes on in the front office. And then when the pitching coach was over and John Daniels took over, they asked me to move back up to the front office. And in moving back up to the front office, it just kind of felt a little awkward. A new general manager, I didn't want to be looking over his shoulder. I kind of knew everything I needed to know about front office work and life. And so I told Dana at the time, my wife, and I said, Dana, I don't know what to do. I got this job, this office, I'm decorating, but I'm not really completely comfortable here. And not because of the people, just the whole situation. And she goes, well, what do you want to do? And I go, I don't know. She goes, why don't you call Chris Berman and ask him what's going on at ESPN? You did the Little League World Series, you did a couple things there, and maybe they like you. And so I called Chris Berman. He called Norby Williamson, who was in charge of broadcasting for baseball for ESPN. And within a day, I was packing up that office and going to work for ESPN.
Wow.
So that's how broadcasting started. That's the first time I've told that publicly. But I guess it's a good day to do that.